Citadelum, is that the successor of impression games like Caesar 3 that you've always been waiting for? The game released in October of 2024 with very positive reviews so far on Steam. It's a city builder set in legendary ancient Rome. Build your own settlement, gather resources, and evolve it into a magnificent city. You will explore the world on the world map or region map. You can see over here I haven't explored anything, but you will be able to explore a lot. Trade resources and lead your legions into epic tactical battle. There is also all of the gods over here. You need to earn their favors and be careful to not anger them. You have a single player campaign of 10 missions right now. You can also play each of these missions in sandbox, and more importantly, you have a connection to the Steam workshop where you can, create obviously and download multiple content in terms of new missions, new war, anything like this. And you can even change it yourself in the game editor. So it's not like you need to have super advanced skills in terms of development if you want to do any changes to the game. And I've actually completed the whole campaign. So what is my review? What is my assessment of the game? Should you buy it? Is it worth it? Let's dive first into what this is in a bit more detail. As I said, you'll have to gather resources. Think about production chain for wood, for example. You're gonna get a logging camp to get some logs. You're gonna transform those logs into a sawmill, into planks. You're gonna use those planks into many things, but you can also push them into furnitures in the furniture workshop. Similarly for the stone, right? You'll transform stone into bricks and into more into the future. The iron, you'll transform into, swords, into armors, into shields, all those type of things. Then you have all of the food production, and it's quite a lot. As you can see, there's quite a lot of different farm. There's also fish, but then you'll also get some cows, some pigs, some chickens, right? You'll want to make bread, etc. So there are multiple production chains there too. You have two tiers of population, your plebeians. These are over here, plebeians housing, and then you have your patrician housing. Each of these two tiers of population, their housing will have 6 levels, sorry. You can see this one, for example, is a level 5. One very cool thing about the game too, by the way, is when you zoom in, you can go inside each of the houses or each of the production building too, to see what's happening. So that is a really cool mechanic, and you will see people walking around, moving around. So there is 6 levels for each of the houses. You need to provide them with resources, right, to make sure that they are happy and that they also provide you with both workforce and income. Actually, the plebeians are the ones that are going to give you the workforce. You can see this one will have 35 people at the maximum. This is 35 people that can work. Versus for the plebeians, for the patricians, these ones will not actually give you workforce, they will give you income. If I look over here at my income, the patrician taxes are 21,000. So you have to deal with both workforce and income. As I said, there's 6 levels, so you want to try to upgrade them, of course, as much as possible. You will be trading resources, getting the favors of the god, and building an army to fight. And it's not just fighting on the world map. If you look at this region over here, these are an enemy legion, right? But it is also in your city, you will get attacked. If I look over here, the enemy red risk right now is 50%. So I may be attacked at any point, and that is why you want to also have watchtowers with guards to protect your city. You can also build walls and much more. Look at this, walls. Look at this, for example, now there is a couple of enemies, 3 sections of enemies that are attacking me, but I have my towers that are first sending some arrows, and then they were going to go into actual combat, close quarter combat. But usually when you have 2 like this, you should be surviving, no problem. You can see many are starting to die now. Great. It is. That's a win on this side. Perfect. And even on this side, we are done. They did, put a bit of fire. If you don't have defenses like this, they will indeed burn your city. But in this case, we have survived pretty well. So how does the army work? Well, basically, you're going to be able to make a couple of different types of troops. Centurions, normal legionnaire. You're going to be able to have archers, cavalry, and then these ones are guards, and these ones are explorers or spies, if you wish. So let's deploy a legion. We're going to deploy it over here to fight against these guys. We're going to put our centurions for sure, and then we're going to put a mix, of each of the soldiers, something like this. The maximum is 200 in a legion. So let's do like this. Let's deploy the Legion. Now it's worth noting that you can actually check what the enemy has. This enemy has, for example, 30 infantry and 30 cavalry. And then basically you're gonna fight like this, start the battle. At the end of the day, it is basically like most games out there, even Total War, it's mostly a rock, paper, scissors, you know, the sort of cavalry is very good to kill the archers are very good at killing the infantry is very good at killing the cavalry. So that's what we're gonna try to do, right? We're gonna put our infantry first line, we're gonna put the archers maybe in 2 groups like this in the back. We're gonna put the cavalry on the side here to try to attack from the side, even if, to be honest, they're gonna get killed by these guys, so they're not that strong, but that's the idea. And then you're gonna start the battle. You can actually control, you know, your soldiers. I can say go over here, but at the same time, it's still pretty, you know, standard. There's not tons of things. You're not gonna get like crazy powers and controls. But yeah, that's how the battle, you know, is going. It is, we're almost done, and they are done. We lost nobody, that was a great victory, and now we have conquered, you know, this new territory over here, and we can try to do another battle. As I mentioned at the beginning, there is a campaign where each mission is a bit like 1, 2, 3 hours, and then, you know, you move to the next mission, you restart on a new map, you restart from scratch, but you can also play on a sandbox if you want to, you know, from start to finish, create the most magnificent, the biggest city ever. You definitely can do that too. So let's talk about the pros of this game first. First of all is there is an actual single player campaign. It's not often in games nowadays, and I do appreciate it, especially for strategy buildings like this. Then, as I mentioned too, there is the Steam Workshop connection and editor, which I think is really great for replayability in the future. Third pro is, I think you have it all, you know, it's city building, it's RTS, there's aspects like the gods, etc. So there's some good content over here. Fourth good point is that there is a low barrier to entry. The first few missions are a bit like tutorial, and honestly, it's not that hard. So if you've been having trouble with city builders or survival games, actually, this may be great for you. On the other hand, to be honest, if you're an expert, I guess I'm saying the first cons over here, if you're an expert in city builder, you may find it a bit too easy. Number 5, I really like you know, what they started in one of their previous games, One Military Camp, where you're able to see inside all of the people. And last but not least, like I said in the introduction, this is a bit like a return to the nostalgia of Caesar 3 and games like this. Both the visual, the music, the theme, you know, is all about this. So for me, it is, you know, touching on the nostalgia. It's not the most beautiful or colorful experience though. You can see the colors are always a bit the same. So that's something to keep in mind. And moving again to the cons, as I mentioned earlier already, in terms of difficulty, there's only one difficulty level and it's not that hard. So you may be disappointed there. The second is there is not really any cinematic, or, you know, it's not like you have one character that you start with at the start. So you don't always feel super immersed in the game. Similarly too, in the same vein, is every single mission will be actually quite similar. Yes, each of the mission, you know, you'll start with the different resources, the map is definitely always different, but the resources are always the same. You know, you always have access to all of the same building. And so what it means is that you will always start by putting wood and stone. You will always then go into wheat. You will always get, you know, the sort of steps that you take in each mission are always the same. But yes, that was one of my main disappointments in this game. You know, if you think about Caesar 3 or Stronghold or those type of games, that one thing they did really well, in my opinion, in the past, is that in each mission you only had access to a certain number of things, and you had to either do without the other ones, or you had, you know, to trade for the missing elements. In this game you have access to everything, so why trade? Why, you know, like, it is always the same game. In terms of pricing, if you're in US or in Europe, we're talking about $25. So it's not too expensive, but it's also not $10, right? It's a bit more. So what do I think about this? Is this worth it? My conclusion is that I did have a lot of fun playing this game. It brought me back, you know, to Caesar 3 and many of these old impression games. So there was a lot of nostalgia involved here. At the same time, I do have to admit that I didn't feel like I was really challenged that much. All of the missions were the same, and I don't think I'm going to replay it a lot more. Why? Because while there is indeed the Steam Workshop and you know, the game editor, I feel that every mission, every new game I do will still be a bit the same. So in conclusion, if you think that $25 is pair is worth it for around 20-30 hours of gameplay, then you should buy it. Also, if you've been having trouble with city builders and survival games, if they're too hard for you most of the time, I think this one would be a great entry. On the other hand, if you think that price is too steep, maybe wait for a discount. There was obviously a launch discount, and I'm sure they will continue to do some later on. Or also, if you're really an expert in those type of game, you may find it too easy. That's my conclusion. If you want to see more, don't hesitate to check in the video description below for my full let's play of this campaign. I will also release a top 10 tips video if you're having trouble or want to really master this game. And don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below too if you have different thoughts, things you like, things you don't like about this game. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.